is Jesus, my Redeemer. There is no more for heaven now to give. He is my joy, my righteousness and freedom, my steadfast love, my deep and boundless peace. To this I hold, my hope is only Jesus. For my life is wholly bound to Him. Oh, how strange and divine, I can sing, all is mine, yet not I, but through Christ in me. The night is dark, but I am not forsaken. For by my side, the Savior, He will stay. I labor on in weakness and rejoicing, for in my need His power is displayed. To this I hold, my Shepherd will defend me. Through the deepest valley He will lead. Oh, the night has been won, and I shall overcome, yet not I, but through Christ in me. No fate I dread, I know I am forgiven. The future sure, the price it has been paid. For Jesus bled and suffered for my pardon, and He was raised to overthrow the grave. To this I hold, my sin has been defeated. Jesus now and ever is my plea. Oh, the chains are released, I can sing, I am free, yet not I, but through Christ in me. With every breath I long to follow Jesus, for He has said that He will bring me home. And day by day I know He will renew me, until I stand with joy before the throne. To this I hold, my hope is only Jesus. All the glory evermore to Him. When the race is complete, still my lips shall repeat, yet not I, but through Christ in me. When the race is complete, still my lips shall repeat, yet not I, but through Christ in me. Yet not I, but through Christ in me.
Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jeff Gamache. I'm the Director of Athletics at Trinity Western University, and we have the opportunity to be leading chapel today. So just really thankful for the opportunity. Wish you could obviously be in person, but I hope that you will be blessed by the testimonies that are shared and the conversation that we have today around the idea of overcoming challenge and the hope that we have through Jesus Christ in the midst of that challenge. So with me today, I want to introduce them. We have three senior athletes from a variety of teams. So we have Caden Gamache. Caden, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey everyone, my name's Caden. I'm on the men's volleyball team here at Trinity. I'm in my 5th year. I grew up in Abbotsford, so just came to university just down the road, and I'm in the education department.
Awesome. Jen Kitts, tell us a little bit about you.
Hi, my name is Jen, and I am on the cross country team and then also the track team. I run the 15 and the 800 on the track, and I grew up in Burnaby, so also didn't go too far from home to come to school, and I am studying human kinetics.
Fantastic. And finally, Jarrett Fontaine. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Jarrett.
My name is Jared Fontaine, and I'm from Humboldt, Saskatchewan, so I did move far away from home. I play on the men's hockey team, and I am studying corporate communications, or was, I don't know. We're in the process here of graduating.
Oh, that's awesome. So last year, exactly 1 year ago today, much of the world kind of came to a screeching halt, and that included the world of sport. And in many ways, sport has been one of the few things, especially with crowds and traveling and all that kind of thing, that has really changed, looked really different. So, Caden, I know you were with the men's volleyball team. You were in Winnipeg. You had maybe been there for a day or two for the national championship. You were the #1 team going in. You were, I think, expected by most to repeat as a national champion. And all of a sudden that all changed. So just walk us through kind of that 24 hours, the 12 hours leading up, during that, and then coming home, and what that was like.
Yeah, so I think we got to Winnipeg a couple days before everything happened. We met a float in on either a Monday or Tuesday. And then the Thursday that everything shut down, like waking up that morning, I don't even recall like knowing anything about coronavirus, COVID. We might have been discussing it as something that was going on in China or Italy at that point. But then basically that morning we woke up not knowing anything. And that night we were flying home. Like it was probably the craziest 14, 15 hours ever. So we woke up, we went to our morning practice at the gym at University of Manitoba. And then that was when they told us we're not going to be having any fans at the event. And we were all just like, what is going on? Like, what is coronavirus? Just like everyone else. So people are like calling their parents, saying like, they're at the airport, like, don't come, you can't watch. Oh, wait, you can come. Now they're allowing parents. Now there's only 50 people in the gym, all those conversations. And we're like, still at this point, we're like, there's no way they're going to be canceling this tournament. Like, what is this the flu? All these questions that everyone was having. And then we came back to the hotel, we ate our dinner, and then we're goofing around in the pool. And someone came in with their phone, was like, the NBA just got shut down. We're like, what the heck? Like, what is going on? Then it was Tom Hanks has it. And it was just this chain reaction. And we just all were like sitting in the hot tub with our phones, like, what is going on? And then still at this point though, we're already in Winnipeg. There's no way that we're in Winnipeg. Like, there's no way they're going to be canceling this. No, to our knowledge, no one in Winnipeg had the coronavirus or anything like that. So we were still like, I don't think anyone at that point still thought the tournament could have been canceled. And then we did video that night, maybe around like 8 or 9. And our coach got pulled out of video, or like a stretching session or something. Like he got a call and he just left, which was super weird. And at that point, I think we were all like, oh boy, that's not good. And then we were sitting in this room stretching for like an hour and a half, and it was just pretty much quiet. Like there's all this nervous energy, like what's going on. And then our coach came in, told us tournament's been canceled. A lot of tears, obviously, especially for the seniors, just knowing that was going to be our last chance at just our last weekend together as a team. And so we hugged it out, and that was that. Then everyone kind of flew home. That was still the last time. Like, it's kind of weird to think that was the last time I saw our seniors, because they're all out of province and they all went home. And our coach even told us, like, 2-3 weeks we'll be back at in Langley training. Like, we didn't think it was that. We just thought, okay, this is some fluke thing. We're going to shut down for 2 weeks and then we'll be back training next month. And obviously that never happened. And those 3 guys are all playing in Europe now. So, which is really cool, but it was just such an anticlimactic way to end a really awesome season. Like you said, we were the number 1 seed going in. We had a ton of confidence. And so, yeah, one of the most emotional nights of my life for sure. Looking back, just, it was crazy how everything lined up with that being one of the craziest days for, I mean, everyone in the world, but also for us, just being, that was our big weekend that we'd been working for literally the whole year. So a lot of emotions, but looking back, yeah, just crazy to think about how those 2 worlds collided and that was the outcome.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was similar for me. We were flying to Calgary to watch the women, and I'm getting on the flight and people are phoning me, is this still going on? What's going on? You get on the flight, you land, yeah, it's still going. Oh, yeah, no fans. And then, by 9 o'clock at night, tournament's canceled. I still say to this day, that was the most expensive Earl's dinner I've ever had. I flew all the way to Calgary, had dinner at Earl's and flew home. So that was, yeah, I can totally empathize with you on that. So, I mean, Ben and Jarrett, you could obviously tell us at least something similar to that, but we'll keep moving here. Jen, just tell us about what training has been like, last spring through the summer, this fall, with all the different restrictions, everything. What's that been like?
Yeah, it's definitely been a roller coaster of a lot of different things. Kind of like right when it first went down, I guess a year ago, it was kind of like a halt on everything. I was like, okay, we'll stop for a few weeks. Everyone will do their own thing. For our team, we can run, thankfully, without being inside. So we could still do a lot of our training. There was a period of time where tracks were closed, but for the most part, we've been able to at least do the physical aspect of training and running. It was kind of always like, oh, okay, we'll stop for 2 weeks and then we'll regroup and we'll start again. And races, we'll do races in the summer because we compete all through the summer as well. And then it was like, okay, now the races in May are canceled. Okay, now the races in June are canceled. Okay, but it's okay because August is still coming. And then it's like, no, the Olympics are canceled. And then, yeah, just slowly just watching, like we kind of kept like pushing our goals back. Okay, we're training for a race that's a month from now. And then eventually it was like, okay, like we're not training for anything right now. We need to just kind of reassess where we're at, reassess like why are we out here running, and just kind of looking at it from the big picture and trying to figure out, okay, like we don't know what's coming now. By the time that all of the fall races have been canceled, and then our track season got canceled, and so it was a lot of just like waiting around, a lot of just training, but not really know what we're training for, which I know has been quite exhausting for myself and for a lot of people. So yeah, just kind of trying to deal with those emotions. From a training perspective, it's been a lot of training in smaller groups, which is not always fun. There's people on the team that we haven't interacted with all year because they're not in our training groups. So that's been created a really hard dynamic for our team in some ways, where we are very separate, but also within our training group. So for myself, I'm with a bunch of the distance athletes. We've also grown really close because we have so much time together and we have had so much time to just bond through the emotional ride that this has all been. And it's been really cool in the sense that we've all kind of been going through the same thing at the same time, whether or not we've been able to do time trials or race against some local schools or like not even allowed to train at all. We've all been in the same place at the same time, which has been a really unique experience. And I know even just like talking to people on other teams and stuff, and just like it's kind of brought in all the different teams together in some senses, because we like none of us are competing. We're all struggling with different aspects of training and stuff, but in the same sense, we're all in the same boat. So yeah, that's kind of just an overview of what this season's kind of looked like for us and training wise.
Yeah, I can imagine without having that kind of what you're aiming for, right? In athletics, you always kind of have this, there's this target there and you're training for that. And then when that keeps moving, it's, I'm sure, very kind of like this high and low and high and low, and then it's not even there really. And okay, now what am I even aiming at, right? That's very difficult. So Jarrett, this is your last year, but it was also going to be an extra exciting year for the men's hockey team because it was going to be your first year moving from the college level to the university level. So we had this kind of real buildup for the last 3 years, kind of coming to this year. So I'm imagining that was maybe some extra disappointment with that, but just walk us through your kind of own personal journey with some of the disappointment that came with this year.
Yeah, like you were saying, this is supposed to be the year that we go into U Sports, and I think just for myself, I like really worked hard to get recruited by a U Sports school, CIS at the time, and no school wanted me. And then I ended up coming to Trinity Western, and I just never really thought of it was like it was ever going to come to fruition. And then we had to bid to get into the league, and I was even fortunate enough to be at the AGM meeting and be a part of our pitch to get approved, and then we ended up getting approved. I remember getting a text from Barrett and just being like, "Hey, we're in," and it was just super exciting. And even last season, it was a lot of the talk. I think Barrett had to almost tone it down sometimes because some of the guys were graduating that year and wouldn't be playing U Sports, but he was so excited about U Sports and moving into that league, and that's what we were even that season, last season, which was one of our best, and we were just so dominant. It's because we were pushing too for the competition that was ahead. And when the season went down last year, there it was okay, we'll recover and then we'll be playing. But as things started to progress, you started to realize hey, this is not going to happen. And then it just kind of got shut down in November there. And I think that's when it really hit me. And that's when I think my motivation and my drive really went down. I'm here I am, part of this team, and I'm a leader of this team, and but it's over for me. It's we're not training towards anything, like you were saying earlier, like Jen was saying, we're not really training towards anything, just training. And for me, that was very hard because a lot of the things that I like about hockey is not the training aspect. It's getting out there and actually just playing and having fun, scoring goals, making nice defensive plays or whatever. And so that was from a sports perspective, very hard. But I think along with that, anybody who's played on team sports, the whole bonding aspect between the team was really lost this year. With, like Jen was saying, working out in small groups and not being able to get to know teammates. I think that's an area that I didn't really realize was so crucial to my own mental health. I was able to have surface level, relationships with some of the guys, but I just couldn't get to that deep level. And I think that's where I thrive. And bus trips, long 8-hour bus trips, and meals with the team, and just rooming with guys on the road. That's kind of where those relationships are built, and you really get to know who a person is and what makes them tick, what they care about. And I think as a leader, I felt pretty helpless to help guys out, or even just pour into their life, because wasn't really given the chance to do that because of all the regulations, and that was really frustrating for me. And then also on the flip side, I need that myself. I need that relationship. I need that interaction with other people to feel good about myself and to just enjoy my time. And that wasn't there. I'm just kind of stuck with my thoughts, and I think a little bit of an anxiety started to creep in. And I think just reaching out to God and praying and just asking for peace for myself was really the only thing that I could do. And I think there's just a lot of uncertainty I had just around the whole situation.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say that the kind of community aspect of sports, you didn't really realize how important that was until it was almost moved? It was kind of gone, and then you're like, wow, I didn't know, I kind of knew that this was a part of it for me, but it was really emphasized as it was taken away this year. Would that be a fair comment?
Yeah, I think like, and I think one of the worst parts too was like we were almost there. You're like, hey, you can come here and play the sport, but like go home right after, like don't interact with each other. So it was kind of like, oh, we're almost there, like, hey, oh no, but we can't, right? So it's kind of like this awkward tiptoe situation where you're like, it's almost like tempting you for a relationship, and then eventually, like after a while, it's like it just became like almost normal. It was like, okay, like I'm not going to interact with you, I'm not going to reach out to you because I know that we can't get together and they don't want us to get together. Like it's just
Yeah.
that was really frustrating for me. And then now it's like, I don't even, you kind of move in towards like, oh, I don't really care to get together, but you're like somewhere along the line, you just lost that drive to
It's
pour
almost
into
a
those
defense
relationships.
mechanism, because you're like, I don't want to keep going to something that I know I can't really like taste, but I'd rather just not even tempt myself. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, except the temptation is not even really a temptation. It's something that's really good for you. And
Yeah.
that's what I have found so difficult about this, is that COVID and all the restrictions have really removed something that's wonderful for us.
Yeah.
You're trying to tell people not to go towards something that's wonderful. It's just not normal human behavior. So yeah, that's been really, really challenging. So I know you're all senior athletes. Goes without saying, it, obviously, that it's been a disappointing year. It's not been the year that you kind of like dream about when you probably come in as a freshman. Okay, I can hardly wait to my senior year, and I'm going to get to do this or that, and I'm going to have, I'm going to be a leader on my team, and I'm going to be able to play this role or that role. So that goes without saying. But what have you done to try and cope? So maybe Caden, we'll start with you, and then we'll just go to Jen, and then back to Jarrett. How have you tried to cope with some of this disappointment and frustration?
At least for me, like our coaching staff and our team has just been awesome. Like I know obviously there's so many disappointments about this year, but I feel like our team was one of the, like, as far as volleyball teams across Canada, we were actually able to do a lot more than most teams. Many teams across Canada never got together once this year, and we've been able to, with a lot of social distancing and restrictions, obviously, but we've still been able to train. So I've just been really thankful, honestly, to be able to, at least we're out on the court. Like there's a lot to be disappointed about, but there's also a lot to be thankful for. And for me, just coping with it, just been to go out into training and just enjoy every minute of it. Thankful for the opportunities that I've had to continue to play. And obviously we've had tough conversations with your coaches and with family members. But at least for me, I've just tried to take in all the blessings of this year and try not to dwell too much on all the disappointments, even though they're obviously there.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point. Like every sport has been impacted differently. One, because of kind of where your team is in the trajectory towards some of your long-term goals, but also just because of the sport. So a sport like volleyball, there's a bit more social distancing anyway. So some of the restrictions that you've had have not been, say, as excessive as, say, hockey or basketball and that. So it does affect us differently for sure. Ben, how about you? What have been some of your kind of coping mechanisms and ways that you've made it through?
Yeah, very similar to what Caden was talking about. Just like looking at the blessings and looking at the positive things that are coming out of this time. We have been able to do some kind of time trials, so races against the clock, which has kind of given us a little bit of something to work with, which has made coping a lot easier. I think for me at the beginning, I kind of just tried to just like full on be positive. I was like, okay, like we're all in this together. Like it's going to be okay. Like at first it was kind of like sad, and I was like, no, we got to push through. But then I think I started to realize that I needed to actually let myself feel the emotions that I was feeling. And I was kind of just pushing them away. And I was like, not really recognizing the fact that my senior year was basically taken away from me. I was kind of just like, oh, it'll be okay. We'll get through it. So I think a big part of coping for me was allowing myself to actually like let those feelings out and start having conversations with coaches and family members and just friends and stuff about how I was feeling. I think that was a really big coping thing for me. And then, I mean, I'm very thankful I had a lot of people just point me in the direction of God and just remind me kind of why I'm competing, why I do this sport, and yeah, just the blessing that is in my life and who God is, and that my identity is still rooted in God, or is rooted in God, and is not rooted in sport and accomplishing something in my last year just because it's my last year. So, yeah.
And by the way, I did hear that you ran your fastest time ever this year, so congratulations. So
Thank you.
as much as you didn't get to do it against other people, I just wanted to point that out. I heard that from your coach the other day, so congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Jarrett, for you, what were some, I mean, you alluded to some of that before. What were some of the ways that you got through it? It was really hard.
Yeah, I think just one thing about the hockey team here, like Barrett has always been like a heavy culture guy. Sometimes he'll just like do a lot of team things, and some of it is pretty ridiculous, but some of it was like he just kept trying and putting together little fun events. Like at our practice one time, he like created his own currency called B-Bucks, and we like basically competed for these B-Bucks, and like if you scored goals on other teams, you would like steal some of their B-Bucks. And then basically we had an auction after that. Like we had a little Zoom auction, and people won prizes. And so like Barrett has been doing events like this. In the fall, we did a 30-hour sport marathon, which was pretty insane. But it was also like the best moment of the year, because we just got to like just compete kind of all over the mainland here, and like we were swimming in a lake with all our clothes on, and it was just exhausting, like stuff like that, like just like crazy things. And I think Barrett did a great job of like leading us in that, and just like even through it all, just like making sure that we keep Christ in it and Christ centered. And he's always been like that throughout my 5 years. The culture has always been Christ centered, and so I think that really helps, just doing those things, and like, however ridiculous it might be at sometimes, just being with the guys as a group was really nice from a relational standpoint. As far as just like, with the Zoom classes and just kind of glued to your computer all day, it was nice to just be rooming with Joe Sylvain on the hockey team. Yeah, he's like my best buddy. So it was good to just have like chats together. I think just like honing in on those relationships was really big for me to just discuss, the coronavirus, and then also discuss like, hey, what's happening, or how do we keep our focus on God through the coronavirus? Like, should we be taking more of a stance? Should we be more content and just accept what's given to us? So I think a lot of those talks just helped us kind of like work through what's happening to us. Because as I was telling you earlier, Jeff, it's just like some days you wake up and you look at social media or whatever, and you're like, what the heck is happening in the world today? Like, you're like, what's going to happen next? Every day you wake up and you're like, what the heck just happened? And like, just when you think like nothing more crazy could happen, another like even just like the whole like Black Lives Matter movement, all these things just like are just piling up of just like crazy things, like the riots. And yeah, so like just like having like a close buddy to work through that with, and also just like we're both marrying two girls who are best friends as well, so we kind of have a group. We call ourselves the Square, and just that square, I guess, it was really like a solid rock for me, and for us, just to just a safe place to be. And like I was saying earlier to you as well, Jeff, just I think the safest place that I and best coping mechanism that I had was just laying down, closing my eyes, and just like asking God, hey, can I have peace in this moment? Like, I think that's what it came down to, because it seemed like every time I got out of bed, it was just chaos.
Right. Yeah, that's a great word for us, because you're right. Everything around us seems like chaotic. It seems crazy. And when we have God and when we have a good group of friends, that goes a long way to being able to survive that. So those are some great takeaways. Well, hey, we're coming close to the end of our time here. So I just thought, before I kind of wrap up with a word of scripture, each of you have been here for 5 years. You're graduating in like a minute or less. Kind of what is your time at Trinity meant to you? What are you going to be taking away? So Caden, we'll start again with you.
Yeah, for me, again, I just feel so blessed to have been given the opportunity to be on the team for the last 5 years. The things that are going to stick with me, like, yes, the moments on court and the team success, those are probably going to fade away, but the relationships that I've been able to make, those aren't. And I'm just really happy to be leaving this program with just 5 years of amazing friends and great coaches. And I'm sure most athletes will say the same. It's such a cool environment to be in when you're all going for one goal. You're all working and interested in one thing, whether that's track or hockey or volleyball or whatever your sport is. And regardless really of the team success, just to go into a whole year, dive in for one common goal. And even this year, we haven't been able to have really any games, really any competition, but the fact that I'm leaving, and every day this year, I've loved coming to the gym. I just think it's just such a blessing for me to have been able to be in that spot. And I'm really thankful for the time I've been able to have.
Awesome. Jen, what about for you?
Yeah, it's definitely been a ride. I didn't know what to expect when I started 5 years ago, and it's crazy to think that it's been 5 years since I began. But yeah, I'm taking so much from my experience here. I've, as Caden was saying, the relationships and the friendships that I've made with teammates and coaches and peers are lifelong friends. And people always told me that would happen when I came to Trinity, and I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe. But it's the experience we have had here at Trinity. I'm so blessed, and I've learned so much. I've learned how to work hard. I've learned how to be a good teammate. I've learned how to be a good student. And yeah, I'm very blessed and very thankful, and gonna miss this experience so much.
Garrett?
Yeah, I think for me, I came in for, the sports, the education, the friendships, and the biggest thing is that I came out of it with the relationship with God, and like that's just a miracle. In my first year, had a conversion, and then over my 5 years, I was able to just be mentored by like such good people, such good teammates. Caleb Denham, Derek Kirchner, Dirk DeWall, like those guys, they just poured so much into me, and also like Barrett and the coaching staff, and just building those relationships was just like truly special, and showed me how I should be treating other people that maybe don't know Christ yet, or are in their early stages. I think it was nice to have that 5 years to work on that and develop how to mentor other people through the mentorship that I was receiving. And then also just like a bunch of great memories. I mean, it was obviously sweet to win a few championships. So that's always some good memories that I can carry forward.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm going to share a picture now. This picture comes from this past weekend. I was out doing a little bit of, oh, no, that's not the one. I was out doing a little bit of gardening, and I ran across this, if I can find it here. Don't want to spoil it. There we go. So hopefully you can see that. So it's this little purple crocus. It was in the middle of all these blackberries. I was down on my hands and knees cleaning out this area, and then all of a sudden, just out of all the prickly thorns and the dead leaves and everything, all of a sudden there's just like this sprig of light. And I was like, that seems a little bit what like this year has been for me around the idea of community. So I love community. I like being around people, but to some degree, I think I took it for granted. And in the middle of all the thorns and the disappointments and everything of this past year, community has really kind of shone out and how valuable that is to me. And so I think my challenge for anyone listening to this today is what is the crocus been for you from this pandemic? As you look back on it, let's not let this year kind of go to waste. What is it that God has kind of drawn your attention to and said, hey, maybe in all the crazy busyness of normal life, you missed out on this, but now everything kind of slowed down, lots of stuff got stripped away, and then there was this. And so for me, that has been community, and that's kind of what I've heard from you, that the community here at Trinity has been such a rich environment for you. And even though this year it looked different, it's certainly something that you will take away. And as we close, I just wanted to go with this final scripture from Isaiah 40, verse 25. It says, "To whom will you compare me? Who is my equal?" asks the Holy One. "Look up into the heavens. Who created all the stars? He brings them out like an army, one after another, calling each by its name. Because of his great power and incomparable strength, not a single one is missing. Jacob, how can you say that the Lord does not see your troubles?" And I think we probably could all put our own name in there, and whether it was Caden, Jen, Barrett, or Jeff, how can you say the Lord does not see your troubles? O Israel, how can you say God ignores your rights? Have you never heard? Have you never understood? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of all the earth. He never grows weak or weary. And I think we all have grown very weak and weary around the different COVID protocols this year. But he never grows weak or weary. No one can measure the depths of his understanding. He gives power to the weak and strength to the powerless. Even youths will become weak and tired, and young men will fall in exhaustion. But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. This to me is a great hope. I'm so thankful that each one of you were able to kind of share some of your stories, your ups and downs of this year. Very grateful for the legacy that you are leaving within Spartan Athletics and across Trinity Western. Couldn't be more proud of each of you. So thanks for being with us today. And as we go, just let me close off in prayer. God, we thank you for difficult times in our lives, because it really does prove to highlight your goodness in many ways. And sometimes it's hard to find. Sometimes we got to get down on our hands and knees and go through a whole bunch of thorns and messiness in order to see it. But I think this year has done that. And we're thankful that you are a God of hope and that you are strong. And when we are weary, we can trust in you. Give us all a great day. And thanks for this chapel time together. In your name I pray. Amen. All right. Thanks each of you. And the rest of the Trinity campus, God bless. Have a great day.